Welcome in everyone, my name is Blanca Lomeli and I am back with some more Mexican design DIYs. And on today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this canvas sign and lantern. So stay tuned, let's get started. For project canvas sign, we're going to start out by improvising with some painter's masking tape, because when I bought this vinyl, I totally forgot to buy the transfer paper. So I started by laying the masking tape over the vinyl cutout that I prepared with my Cricut machine. Then I overlapped it just a tad so that it'll form as one sheet, and just pray that those words transfer over to my masking tape. It does work, we just need to give it that tough love rub. Next, I'm going to take this Dollar Tree black canvas and add my words, mi casa es mi casa. Typically, a sign like this will say, bienvenidos, mi casa es tu casa, or just simply, mi casa es tu casa. Years ago, I had seen this and I knew that one day I had to have a sign like this. So why not make it? Now for the moment of truth. Perfect. Now, because masking tape is not transparent like transfer paper, I had to kind of figure out how am I going to center this. So I cut out the excess masking tape, I turned it around and went for it. Well, I'm glad I went for it, because any other way I don't think these letters would have turned out as centered as they did. I gave it that one last tough love rub, and apparently it wasn't so tough because the letters were not sticking to my canvas. You know what's so weird is that I thought I was going to have this problem when I was transferring the vinyl to the masking tape, because for some reason I thought that my masking tape adhesive was a lot weaker than the vinyl, but it turned out to be the other way around. Anywho, I went back and gave it that tough love rub again, and it worked. Well, not quite. My A from casa came off, and as I was trying to remove it, I tore the little colita, or the little tail to the A. And so here I'm carefully peeling it off to make sure I don't rip the rest of the letter A. As far as my flower, it was a total loss. I love the way it turned out. So now we're just going to add some Mexican design love. I started the paint process by using one of my small paint brushes, some white acrylic paint, and dabbed petals onto my canvas. Then I used a dowel to add the flower's disc before adding the last two petals, forming half of a flower on each corner of my canvas. And to give more pizzazz to these flowers, I took an acrylic white pen and drew a frame around each flower. On this part, I was going to use a ruler, but then I said, espérame, wait, the whole point of Mexican design is to freehand as much as possible. It really gives it its authenticity. So it took a precise, steady hand to draw these lines. Just kidding. I used the edge of the wooden frame that lays below the canvas as my decoy. I thought it was the perfect distance from the end of the canvas. And as for these slanted lines here, ay Dios mío, oh my God. Well, it's okay. It doesn't have to come out that perfect. I mean, I did say that the more you freehand, the more authentic. So I'm going to finalize this part of the project by adding white acrylic paint polka dots where the lines connect, as well as inside the middle of the diamonds or squares. And I continued this process all the way around the frame. And to finish this beauty off, I took some black acrylic paint, added a dot at the very bottom of each petal, and with the skewer stick, gently brushing the paint towards the top, giving these flowers the nice dimension that they deserve. I love the way these flowers turned out, and here's an even closer look. I'm actually going to take back the ay Dios mío, because this turned out way better than what I had imagined. And of course, you're cordially invited to subscribe so that you won't miss out on wonderful ideas like this one. And on to the next project. Short story on this Dollar Tree fence. I cut it and slid it in certain areas for another project that totally went wah wah wah. But who knew that these slits and cuts would work out for this project? For a while before this incident, I was masterminding in how to make a lantern with this type of design so that I can totally Mexicanize it and share it with you. I'm going to use this canvas to create the base of the lantern. In order to Mexicanize this canvas, I had a variety of choices. I could have used this terracotta tile sticker, stencils, or this sticker tile from the Dollar Tree. I love the fact that the slits and the cuts that I made on this fence facilitated the making of the lantern. So you're wondering how I locked it into place? Normally these fences carry an attachment on each side of the fence so that you can add more fencing, but in this case, we locked it in within itself. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oops, sorry, I forgot to film the painting of this canvas, or I painted this off camera for a faster process. Apparently, I did paint it off camera, but it was for a total whole project of my own that I wasn't thinking of filming, but in this case, it was a perfect fit for my lantern. So let me show you in detail how I painted all this or put all this together. So out of the variety of choices that I had, I picked my most favorite stencil. I started to dab it with some white acrylic paint. Then I noticed that my stencil shifted off to the side just a tad. So then I started to lightly dab the paint on so it would look like I freehand painted it. Here it looks like perfect, but with the close-up, it does look like I might have painted it freely. But look at this. Isn't it the perfect fit? It just slid right in. So during my contemplation era, while I was trying to figure out how to make a lantern with this design, I was at the Dollar Tree. I spotted this bowl from the catering section. I bought it because I knew right away I wanted this to be the top of my lantern. And although I didn't know what that future lantern was going to look like, I took my chances and went ahead and decked this bowl up to make it look like a rooftop of a lantern. It didn't take much to deck this bowl up. I took 9 small wooden square blocks, glued them all together, then glued them onto the bowl, and then painted it with some black chalk paint. And who knew that a couple of weeks later, it would be the perfect fit. So in reality, I ended up using this tile. Instead of cutting 4 pieces of the same pattern, I used the center part. And as for the paint, I used white and black chalk paint. I wanted this piece to have a flat vintage look, but yet Mexicanized. I love the outcome of this lantern, and the fact that I didn't glue any of the pieces together gives me that flexibility of taking that tile out and putting it back to the original base that I had painted, or simply keep it as a regular picture frame, which was a projected project I was working off cameras. And in the future, I will show you the outcome of all these picture frames. Thanks for watching. Give me a big thumbs up, and if you have not yet subscribed, just go for it. You have nothing to lose but to gain. Here are a couple of my favorite videos. Go check them out. See you guys on the next one. Bye.